Hello, my name is Phil Rosenkrantz. Let me introduce myself. I am a professor at Cal Poly Pomona in Southern California in industrial and manufacturing engineering. I'm retired from full-time teaching and now just teach part-time. One of the courses I teach is called Ethical Considerations in Science Technology. And also, I've been a volunteer for the U.S. Forest Service for the last 26 years in the San Bernardino National Forest in Southern California, and specifically in the San Gorgonio Wilderness. And as a volunteer for 26 years, I've done trail patrols throughout the San Gorgonio Wilderness. I've done ranger talks, and I've also done trail maintenance. Also, I own one of the homes in Portal 3. For 10 years, we've owned our home, and we love coming here to Pine. One of our motivations is that our two oldest children live in the valley, and so this is how we get to see them. And we love Pine. Let me say that the Pine Trailhead, the Pine Trail, the Barefoot Trail, is a lovely trail. I hike on it all the time. I'm a hiker, a backpacker, and I fully understand the idea of people wanting to hike on it and enjoy it. And I'm all for trying to help people do that. But I'm also for making sure that we can do it right. Let me also say that this presentation is something I put together, and it's not from an HOA, the HOA. It's not, I don't consider this to be an us versus them matter. This is a situation where we have to do the right thing and see if we can make everybody happy, if that's possible. So I strongly believe that the choice of this location, the end of Trail End, what they're calling the Juniper Trailhead, is a poor design and poor decision for many reasons, but I'm only going to mention three of them. Size, location, and ethical considerations. And I've got a couple of slides here with some images. I could make you a PowerPoint presentation that would be a lot more detailed and, almost like a lecture, but I've decided not to do that. I'm just going to use some pictures and some words to share my thoughts. And I think you'll find some of these very compelling. The first slide, I just want to show people that aren't familiar with this issue what we're talking about here. If you can see my cursor on the screen, we have Highway 87 going through Pine, and right down here at the bottom of the screen, where there's the LDS Church, there's Pine Creek Canyon Road, and it goes up 0.8 of a mile to Trail End, and then it goes 0.7 of a mile through residential area up to the end of a little spur called Trail End Drive, and that's where the proposed trailhead is. The actual barefoot trail is shown here. We have a trailhead at the left of the screen where it says Barefoot Trail, and then the Barefoot Trail sort of parallels 87 for a while, and then it goes up and goes alongside the communities that are along Pine Creek Road and past the Juniper Trailhead, and then it continues on to the bridge that crosses Pine Creek. So The blue lines I've added are corrections to this map. There is actually a loop here that was put in so that you could go out on the plateau and have a nice view. And then also the trail continues north up all the way to the top of the rim. Now, the distance from the Juniper Trailhead to the bridge is 2 miles. And the distance from the Juniper Trailhead to the Barefoot Trailhead is 4.2 miles. So what we're talking about here is that from the west, people, if they want to go all the way to the bridge, would hike 6.2 miles. And it's a lovely hike. There's also access right now from the Pine Trailhead, which is just off Highway 87, not too far from that brewery. And it's more like an 8-mile hike, but it goes all the way to the bridge also. And this Manzanita Trailhead is another trailhead that's being proposed, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Juniper Trailhead. But the point being that this would also give you about a 3-mile or 4-mile trip to the bridge. That's what we're talking about here as far as the project itself. Now to the question of what's going on here at the Juniper Trailhead. This is an image from the proposal that was prepared and sent out about the Juniper Trailhead. And what we have here is Juniper Loop, this road that you can see here, and then this spur that goes up is Trail End. And then at the end of the trail is where the boundary is for the forest. And they're proposing right here to put in a spot for 5 to 6 parking spaces. So that's what they proposed. And let me point out some issues with this. This is also in the proposal. I copied and pasted these out. It says the extension of Trails End Drive at the border of the Tonto National Forest was created on Gila County Plat Map 586 in 1981 as a 54-foot wide road with a 100-foot diameter turnaround at the end, right? That's that image right here. This is the 100-foot turnaround. It can also be seen on another map. And this is just another image that they had put on the same page showing property lines and stuff like that and lot numbers. What we have is Trails End Drive with lot 20 here, lot 97 here, and there are houses on these lots. 98 is a vacant lot. This tells you that there is a 54-foot wide road here, and they want to propose a 100-foot diameter turnaround lot, which would take them up to what they think is the setback. Now let's see what's really there. This is a map of what's really there. Here's Trails End, and there are 2 houses here, and then at the end of the blacktop is where the forest begins, and then there would be parking up here. And you can't put more than 5 or 6 cars in there because there's a creek goes by and you can't go any farther. This is Trails End as it actually is. Now, in the world of engineering, we have things that we say are plans, and then we have things that we say are as built. Let's take a look at what the actual sizes are. First of all, Trails End is not 54 feet wide. It's 25 feet wide. And I put in the 100-foot diameter circle, and it hits this house in lot 20, and it goes all the way up to the front of the house and through the driveway of the house in lot 98. The proposal was based on 1981 as designed drawings, not on 2022 as built. And so this road here has culverts on each side, and then forest on, trees and things. And also Juniper Loop and all the other roads leading up to this, they aren't much wider than that. And if you drive through this area, you'll see that there are no cars parked on the street. All the cars are parked off the street. Picture that you have a lot with 2,500 square foot lot with 5 or 6 cars in it, but 30 cars show up to use the trail on a Saturday morning, where 2 different groups have decided to do a group hike. Where are they going to park? Well, if they park along trail's end, they block it for use by emergency vehicles and for turning around and all kinds of things. It's just a very poor setup, and it's not what they thought it was when they designed it. Then you're also blocking these 2 people from their driveways, these 2 homes. And the owner of lot 98, if they ever wanted to build, they would lose access to where they would want to put their driveway. There's a couple other problems with this that I'm not going to bother to go into, but I think what I've just shown you here is major. Now let me talk about the size of this lot. I mentioned I've been a volunteer in the San Gorgonio Wilderness for 26 years. There are 6 trailheads that lead into the San Gorgonio Wilderness. They are all large enough to hold, I would say, the smallest one is 20 cars. The largest one is paved with a restroom, trash cans, and it's probably 100 cars. And 5 of the 6 trailheads are remote. They are not next to residential areas. The 6th one, however, is the one where you have to drive all the way through the little town of Forest Falls, get to the end of the town, and next to a residential area, there's a huge parking lot and picnic area. And the biggest complaint about all of that is from the residents about the traffic in the town caused by that trailhead. So let me move on a little bit. What I'm trying to say here is that 5 to 6 cars won't do it. You'll have people show up, the parking lot will be full, and they're not going to turn around and drive back to the valley. They're going to park on the side. They're going to park anywhere they feel like it. And then as far as it only being for day use is another myth. If you have a parking lot, people are going to do overnight hikes. Hunters are going to park there. And if I know there's a proposed gate, but there's nobody going to be coming here every morning at 6 o'clock to unlock the gate and coming back at 5 o'clock to lock it. And if they come back to 5 o'clock and lock it and there's still a car in there, what are they going to do? It's very poorly conceived. You need a parking lot. You need a trailhead that has plenty of room, and overnighters are not a problem. And also, noise is not a problem. So I've talked about the location. I've talked about the size. The next thing I want to mention is it's ethical stuff, ethical considerations. You might be asking what that's about. And I think that's a major thing here. One of the courses I teach is ethical concepts in science and engineering. And one of the major concepts is the idea of informed consent. And the idea there is that when companies design products or things are engineered where people are going to use it in the public, roads, buildings, and if there's any risk to the public, you're supposed to be informed about it. Or agencies that represent you are supposed to be informed about it. I mean, there's a lot of famous cases about this. And in this case, there was no informed consent while this was going on. Let me read you something out of the textbook I use. It says, and we're talking about prior consultation. Prior consultation of the kind suggested can be effective. when Northern States Power Company in Minnesota was planning a new power plant, it got in touch with the local citizens and environmental groups before it committed large sums of money to preliminary design studies. The company was able to present convincing evidence regarding the need for a new plant and then suggested several sites. Now, let me stop here and comment on this. It says the company had to convince the public for the need of the new site. I don't see anywhere where anybody's been convinced of the need for this trailhead. Now, would it be nice to have another trailhead? I think so. I can see it. Back to the citizens groups responded with a site proposal of their own. Listen to that. The latter was found acceptable by the company. Thus, informed consent was sought from and voluntarily given by those the project affected, and the acrimonious and protracted battles, so common in other cases where a company has already invested heavily in decisions based on engineering studies alone, was avoided. Note that the utility company interacted with groups that could serve as proxy for various segments of the rate-paying public. I think that this really applies to what we're talking about here. Also, as far as ethics is concerned, is what about people's rights? Well, the people have the right to that trailhead. Well, the Forest Service has the right to do what it wants with the property of the forest, but what about the rights of property owners that are around it? Do they have any rights? They have no rights? Did we have the right to kick Dollar General out of Pine? Did we have the right to speak up about a hotel? What rights do we have? Well, in our country, a lot of people think that there are property rights and you have the right to say something. So what I'm proposing is maybe we can find an alternate trailhead. And I've looked at a few maps, and I'm not pretending that this would work, but I see a lot of space where there could be another trailhead and it could intersect with that Barefoot Trail loop. In fact, I dug a little deeper and got a better map, and right on the edge of the forest property, maybe there is a place. Now, I haven't considered everything. My recommendation is we cancel the trailhead plans as they are. We go back to the drawing board, include the whole community, and not just a few people with a hidden agenda. So anyway, I hope that made sense, and I hope that the right people see that what they had planned for Trail End just isn't going to work. Thank you.